Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Year 11 Parents Information Evening 2023. We hope you find this informative and we'll give you plenty of information about your child's upcoming year in Year 11. If you have further questions, there will be email addresses at the end of the presentation that you can contact for any further information or support. My name is Mrs. Towers and I am the Assistant Head Teacher in charge of Curriculum, Assessment and Data at Holmer Green Senior School. I'm going to take you through the presentation this evening. We will begin with a short message from Mr. Hilliard, our Head Teacher. We will then move on to English, our key points, Maths and Science and RS, so that covers our core subjects, mock exams this year and how that process will work, parental support, the future, so looking towards sixth form and further education applications, and then finally a message to students.
Good evening. My name is Mr. Hilliard, Head Teacher, and I welcome you to our Year 11 Parents Information Evening for Holmer Green Senior School. Our aim this year is to support your son or daughter to ensure they do as well as possible academically, that they continue to participate in extracurricular activities such as this year's school production, Duke of Edinburgh, to name just a few. We as a school community are very fortunate to have a supportive parent and caring body. The most successful students from this year's summer exams were those that worked consistently hard throughout the year, were organised, took their mocks seriously and took their mocks as an opportunity to find out what they did not know and use them as a stepping stone for further improvement. How well your son or daughter does this year is a result of the partnership between your child, the school and you as parents. Working together proves the most successful way. We have a strong pastoral system here. Should your son or daughter require any further support, they or you should seek out their form tutor in the first instance and then their head of year, Mrs. Rayner, after that. We have a dedicated pastoral manager, Mr. Smith, to further support students. Subject-specific help and queries should be directed to the subject teacher by your son or daughter, and then after that, the head of department. We have a sixth form open evening on the 30th of November, which Mr. McMaster and Mrs. Golding will let you know about shortly, and we suggest you get the process of visiting and applying for sixth form and college out of the way by February 2024, so that the exams can be focused upon. We had a strong set of GCSE results this summer, with almost 80% of our students achieving grades 4 and above in both Maths and English. It was great to see our Year 13 securing their university places and some of our top students beginning top-end apprenticeships with well-known firms, starting degrees such as law and medicine, and a number starting scholarships at American universities. Every single student wants to do well. I've never come across one that does not. Some really simple things make a big difference to GCSE results. Attending every day, being in every minute of every lesson, being fully equipped and prepared for each lesson are all actions students can take that require no real effort or thought, but as you will see later, have an impact on results. I do know, with our parent-school combined support, every single one of your sons' daughters can do it incredibly well. Thank you for investing tonight's time in your child's education. Together, I know we can support your child to become the best possible version of themselves.
English is made up of two GCSEs. Both of these GCSEs are equally weighted. This means that a student who passes one of them and not the other will use that grade to take forward, and likewise you may take the highest grade forward for further education applications. English language is comprised of two papers. These are both unseen papers. The first one is Unseen Victorian Literature and Imaginative Writing. This begins with one text from a Victorian novel with 4 questions and finishes with a creative writing piece. The second paper is 2 unseen texts. These are modern texts from the 20th or 21st century. These are also non-fiction texts. They might be a speech, an article, a memoir. They have 7 questions on these texts, very similar to the first one in terms of analysing language and structure and evaluating the text. However, there is also a comparative element in this paper too, where the students will be asked to compare the 2 texts. They then finish with a transactional writing piece. This means article, speech, review, non-fiction writing for that second part of the exam. English literature is a separate GCSE and also comprised of 2 papers. In this case, the first paper will be on Romeo and Juliet. It starts with an analysis of a scene from the play and then a question about the wider play itself and an inspector calls. Both of these are closed text exams, which means the students will not have the text in the exam with them. This is really important because students will need to revise a handful of quotes and know the text really well before they go into the exam. That exam is an hour and 45 minutes, and paper 2 is our longer exam, that is 2 hours 15 minutes. In this case, students have either studied A Christmas Carol or Jekyll and Hyde, depending on the set they were in. Students do know that and have an annotated copy of that text. They then study a section from the poetry anthology. In this case, they have studied the conflict section of the anthology, and they will have a question comparing 2 of those poems. One of the poems is printed on the paper, the other poem they will need to know. Therefore, they have quite a lot of poems. There's 15 poems in it that they will need to revise. It is not a memory test. That's a really important part of the exam. It's not a case of just being able to recite quotations. It is about remembering the context of the poems. It is remembering the themes and the ideas and the messages in those poems. That is more important than being able to recite quotations. And finally, they will be comparing 2 poems that they have not seen before. This is often quite a daunting task, but thus far the poems tend to be on very general themes and ideas, and actually, funnily enough, students find this section of the paper a little bit easier than the poems they've studied in class as well, if that helps them feel with any confidence there. Things to remember in English is that there are no exam tiers. So we do not have a foundation or a higher exam. Everyone takes the same one. Timing is really tight and plenty of exam practice is needed. You can find all of the exam papers except the one that we use for the mock exam, so this year's paper. You can find those on Edexcel GCSE English 2015. Revise the key quotations from the literature text as it is a closed exam, but it is not a memory test, so it's more important to remember what the texts are about. Keep your annotated literature text safe so you can revise for them. This is really important. We annotated everything last year, and those texts need to be kept safely at home, ready to revise from. In terms of revision, students will have tutor time revision sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and these are targeted sessions, particularly focusing on recall there as well. BBC Bitesize and Oak National Academy also have lots of Edexcel specific resources that students can revise from, and the Edexcel website has extensive exam materials and revision materials on there too. If you are purchasing anything in terms of revision books, it's very important that you purchase an Edexcel revision guide because this exam is very specific to each exam board. In maths, there are 3 papers. There is a paper 1, which is a non-calculator paper, and paper 2 and 3 that are both calculator papers. Each paper is 80 marks and an hour and 30 minutes long. There are 2 tiers. Foundation tier is up to a grade 5 and higher tier is up to a grade 9. And the maths department use their assessments throughout the year and the AP points in order to decide who goes into what tier at the end of year 11. You can also see here there is a recommended calculator for GCSE that is widely available and really, really important to your child's learning in maths. In terms of exam preparation, there are lots of online resources that are readily available. There is MathsWatch, MathsGenie and Dr. Frost, who are all really, really useful resource bases for practicing maths questions. They all come with videos as well. In terms of physical resources, purposeful practice books, flashcards, CGP maths workbooks, and we do Edexcel maths. So that's another key thing that's really important when selecting exam revision materials. Exam materials available. There are specimen papers going back to 2017. These are all on the Edexcel website as well. And obviously you cannot get into locked ones, which we would use for mock exams and other AP tests. In terms of intervention, we have tutor time interventions for targeted students, and there are after school sessions available too, and you can use the School Cloud system to book your child onto after school maths lessons. Students at Holmer Green study triple science. They will gain 3 GCSEs in biology, chemistry and physics. We follow the AQA course, and it is 1 discrete grade for each of the disciplines. There will be 2 exams per subject, and each subject is an hour and 45 minutes long. Importantly, there are tiers in science, and the decision about those tiers will be taken later in the year. Foundation grades are grades 5 to 9, and the higher paper is grades 9 to 4. It's really important to note that if you get below a 4 on a higher tier paper, it is a U grade. Different tiers can be taken in the different GCSE subjects, so you might find yourself on higher physics and foundation biology and any of those combinations. AQA also recommend that students taking the higher papers in science should also be taking the higher paper in maths. There are 21 required practicals as part of the science GCSEs. Practical assessment is exam-based and worth 25%, and it assesses apparatus and techniques, methodology of scientific experiments, risk assessment, results, analysis, including making graphs, drawing conclusions, and application. And practicals may be applied to different contexts as well. In terms of maths, the math skills needed, that 10% of the biology paper is actually maths, 20% of chemistry, 30% of physics as well. That's why there's that emphasis on needing to be on higher tier maths if you are going to take higher tier science. Physics equations, there are 21 or 23 equations to learn and 8 or 12 equations to use. There are plenty of resources online to help you prepare for your science exams. freesciencelessons.co.uk is a really helpful resource. There are videos on all available topics, and there are workbooks to go with those videos too. Again, just remembering that it is the AQA exam board the students are doing. Seneca is also a fantastic free resource that students can use to help them revise. In terms of physical resources, there are CGP flashcards available. There will be other resources put on Satchel for you to use, and there will be packs of past papers and questions given to you by your teachers. They are also all available on the AQA website, and that is freely available to anybody as well. Religious Studies also follows the AQA specification and is divided into 2 papers. The first paper is called Religion, and that is based twofold: Christianity, Beliefs and Practices, and Judaism, Beliefs and Practices, and that is an hour and 45 minutes long. The second paper is a themes paper. There are 4 key themes that students focus on: so religion and life, religion, peace and conflict, religion, crime and punishment, religion, human rights and poverty. And that paper is also an hour and 45 minutes. Both of these papers are equally weighted in terms of the final grade. So some key things to remember in RS: like in English, there are no exam tiers, so you will not be entered for foundation or higher. It is one exam paper. Timing is really tight. There's plenty of exam practice needed. That will be done in class, but also at home. So it's a really good idea with exam questions to set the timer and do those questions to time even when you are working independently. Revise keywords to access the question, and quotations are also required in every paper. Okay, so closed text again, you will need to know some quotations to take in with you. Paper 2 is still an RS exam, so do not forget to include religion in the themes paper. In terms of revising at home, there will be tutor time revision sessions twice a week. These take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There is BBC Bitesize, really useful for RS as well as Seneca. And on the R Drive, which all students have access to via their Holma 365 logins, there are workbooks for every unit, including activities and practical exam questions. And again, the AQA papers are available on the AQA website for anyone to access. So something that's happening that's very important this term is that you will be doing mock exams. So the mock exams take place from the 20th of November to the 8th of December. This seems like quite a long time, but we do divide our exams into written exams and practical. So the written exams will come first, practical exams second. However, your child will be given a full exam timetable before that takes place, and that will be done in the same style they will have in the summer, which gives them the timings and the requirements for each exam. We then take those papers away and mark them and moderate them. That's a really important process at Holma Green to ensure accuracy of marking and accuracy of grades. Therefore, there is a gap between taking those exams and receiving the results. The results will be given to students on the 12th of January 2024, and we like to create an exam results experience where students will receive those results like they will in August. And we just really like to emphasize on how they feel in that moment. Are they pleased with those results? Do they know that they need to do more, need more support perhaps, need to do more revision? And so we give them that full experience in January so they know what that will be like in August. We will spend some time in school working with students to make sure that they are prepared to revise, know how to create a revision timetable, and know the best ways to revise. In terms of supporting you at home, here are 7 suggestions that we have on how you can be available as a parent and how you can support with revision for your child. So first thing is to make a revision timetable with them and make sure they use it. It always helps, I think, with all of us if we have a little bit of accountability attached to our to-do list. So just supervising that revision timetable, making sure that they are actually spending that time productively revising. Number 2, consider what currently gets in the way of their studies. So considering barriers perhaps to that learning, perhaps organisation, or even other commitments, and how they can balance those commitments around their revision too. The next one is to set a suitable pattern now that you can agree on, and any support is a good idea. So you may have things in your week to week that are incredibly busy at home, so thinking of ways in which you can set a pattern that actually will work and students don't feel that they are failing at the first hurdle and not able to get on with their revision timetable. Number 4, think of ways together you can relieve the pressure. So this is really important. We often think about helping students who don't want to revise, but some students also find it very difficult to stop revising or stop working, and we have seen students working incredibly late into the night or working non-stop, and actually that isn't effective or good for mental well-being either. So thinking of ways that you can do enjoyable things too in between all of that hard work. Setting timings on social media is really, really important and really helpful. So if your child is using Snapchat, TikTok, WhatsApp, YouTube, any kind of gaming, if there can be some set time parameters around that. So they are having that break and they are having that enjoyment, but that is also not distracting them from their revision. Next one, organising a quiet space and making sure they have the materials they need for that revision and work too. Quiet spaces can be difficult to achieve in any family home, so we do have the LRC here that is available before school until 4:30 in the evening. We run a homework club out of the LRC, and there is a quiet space where students can work. And finally, just being available really, really helps. It's a difficult and challenging year for students, and being available and being on hand for them is really, really helpful too. We know that exam time can be a very stressful time as a household, so there is lots of help available for parents during exam time as well. We have put a few links together on here for places that you might want to seek advice or support if necessary. And of course you can call into school as well and speak to one of our pastoral managers and our pastoral team to help you and support you in any way that you need. You are probably very familiar with Satchel now from 5 years of being here, but this is your one-stop shop for all of your homework, revision, achievement and behaviour points. That's still really important in Year 11, and we would always ask for your support in both praising and rewarding our students, but also making sure that you are discussing those behaviour points as well and why they have come to be and what can be done in the future differently. Detentions are also as normal on Satchel, and you will receive notifications for same-day detentions, and attendance statistics are also available on Satchel for you. Attendance is incredibly important, and I've put these 2 charts up on this slide just to show you the impact that attendance has on a student's outcomes. Now obviously we know that students get ill, particularly towards the winter when there's lots of bugs flying around, but we want to make sure that if students are able to be in school and able to manage the day, that they are in school. So you can see on that first chart there, a student with 100% attendance has an 81% chance, or nearly 82% chance, of getting 5 GCSEs, a grade 5 to 9, including English and Maths. By the time that gets down to 45%, only 3.8% of students will gain 5 GCSEs at grade 5 to 9. Again, you can see on the other table the progress made. So 0 means they've made expected progress from Key Stage 2. If you have a look at it, students that attend above 95% are achieving 1.2, which is an entire grade higher than their expected progress. That drops massively at the 90 to 95%, where that goes down to 20% higher, so 0.2 of a grade higher. And then that actually goes into negative progress below 90%. So that means they're not making the expected progress that we would expect from Key Stage 2. So attendance is incredibly important. We monitor attendance, and you can see your child's attendance on Satchel as well. Year 11 absolutely flies by. So here are some key dates so you can be thinking about the next steps. We have our sixth form open evening on the 30th of November, and on the 19th of January is our sixth form application deadline. If you're thinking about going to university or a higher level apprenticeship in the future, you'll need to start researching what courses are best for you to take at sixth form. Holman Green offers scholarships for STEAM, so they are engineering and science and math scholarships, as well as the visual arts, and students do interview for those, and we offer those annually, and it's a fantastic opportunity for our students to gain some funding in those subjects. To help you, all students will receive a careers appointment with our careers lead, Mrs. Selleck, this year, and can request additional time with Mrs. Selleck if they have any issues or are unsure about what they want to do in their next steps. If you have any questions about sixth form, Mrs. Golding, our head of sixth form's email is on this slide too, and please feel free to get into contact with her. We do hope to see as many of you as possible at our sixth form open evening in November. It seems a long way away, 11 months away, but these things do roll by very quickly. Results are available to collect on the 22nd of August 2024. So school will be open that day, and students will be given instructions nearer the time in terms of timings, but the results will be available on that day in school. Sixth form enrolment then takes place on the same day and the following day, so that'll be the 22nd and 23rd of August 2024. We will check your results and enrol you onto courses that best suit your grades and future aspirations. So you are looking at grades 5 and above for vocational courses, and grades 6 and above for A-level courses, and a 7 in the maths and sciences. Our sixth form prospectus does give you more information on all of our entry requirements, which are quite specific to each subject. We do suggest you are in the country. We know lots of people take holidays during that time, but we do suggest you're in the country because it does make it much easier for you to do your applications and sixth form applications or college applications from the country rather than trying to do that remotely. So some final advice for students. We are here to support you. That is our most important job at this school, is to support you and make sure that your well-being is where it should be. So we have the hub. Mrs. Owens is in the rig and is a great support to our students. Our pastoral leads are also a fantastic support to everyone. Mrs. Rayner is your head of year, and she is available for you, particularly during registration times if you need to speak to her. Your form tutor is a good first port of call, and you'll see those every day, as well as subject teachers too, particularly if there's an issue or a worry or an anxiety in a particular subject. Little and often is always better than cramming at the end, so start revising now. Make sure you've revised for your mocks, because that makes it much easier to revise for the final exams. Attendance is key. Class time is precious. Don't waste it. Work hard in every lesson, and think about your aspirations and your future, because it gives you something to aim for. Thank you very much for listening to the presentation this evening. My email is on this slide, so if you have any further questions or anything you would like to follow up from the presentation, please feel free to email me. Anything sixth form based, Mrs. Golding's email is on the set presentation as well, and anything for pastoral should go to your form tutor or Mrs. Rayner as your first port of call. I wish you a very successful year 11, and we look forward to seeing you soon.